lovelies! Let's talk about horror movie tropes. Specifically, my personal favorite horror movie tropes that brings me back to this genre every single year, over and over and over again. Now last year I did a video about my least favorite horror movie tropes, but I did not follow that up with my favorite horror movie tropes. Now this is because I hadn't yet found my groove as a YouTuber yet, and I had a bunch of other stuff going on. I was starting a new job, I was working on my novel, I was trying to survive a pandemic that is still going on. That's the real horror story. So that's why I did not do a best horror movie tropes video back then, which is a damn shame because I love this genre and I love talking about it. So you guys got robbed. I'm sorry. So without further ado, let's break down my top 10 favorite horror movie tropes. Number 1, zombies. An old classic favorite of mine, in case the name of this channel did not give that away. Now, this is probably because the first ever horror movie that I saw, actually the first ever rated R movie ever that I saw, was Resident Evil. My mom let me see that when I was 9. It was great, I loved it, it just secured my love for zombies and the horror movie genre. I mean, the first 2, amazing. Third one, okay. You don't have to see the ones after that though, which is yet another staple of the horror movie genre now that I think about it. But anyway, I mean, with zombies, there's just something about them. On a similar note, number 2, the paranormal / supernatural. Slasher fics don't really scare me all that much. I think it's because just I know my chances of surviving a serial killer encounter. I got a black belt in self-defense. I know my way around a gun. My cell phone is always charged and has full service. It is a rare human villain that genuinely scares me or creeps me out. Ghosts, demons, and other supernatural creatures, on the other hand, those terrify me, which is weird because they're just not real. I think it's because if they were real, I can't just karate kick them out the window. These are the stories that keep me awake at night, that make me listen for every single creak and moan in the house, and that I have to convince myself that it's just normal house noises and not something trying to murder me in my sleep. Number 3, smart, competent monsters. My disdain for dumb, incompetent villains is well documented on this channel. A villain or monster does not have to be brilliant or genius in order for me to be satisfied with them. But when they are, it's great. And they're that much more terrifying because now, in addition to overpowering and or outnumbering you, they can outthink you. Number 4, smart, competent heroes. Heroes making dumb decisions is, of course, a hallmark of this genre, and I really don't get why. I have no sympathy for the dumb character who boxes themselves up in a corner and gets dismembered because of it. I mean, exception given to children and those with cognitive disabilities. But if you don't check one of those 2 boxes and you want me to get attached to the heroes and sincerely wish for them to survive, they gotta at least be competent. Number 5, a delayed view of the horror. Now, what do I mean by that? In the movie The Ring, which is an incredibly good horror film if you haven't seen that yet, it opens with, of course, a death. A teenage girl is killed by the ring monster, but we don't see it. We see the lead up to her death, and then it cuts to the main character who is informed of the death and invited to the girl's funeral. Now the main character is a reporter, so she's kind of asking around questions at this funeral, trying to figure out what's going on, and she's talking with the girl's mom, and it's not until that conversation with the girl's mom, almost into Act 2, that we finally see the girl's body and we get a clear idea of kind of what happened to her, and it's horrifying. And even then, we don't understand what killed her. We don't even get a clear view of the monster until the end of the movie. And that's what I mean when I say a delayed view of the horror. Like, yes, we see the horror, we see the monster at some point, but it's pushed off for as long as humanly possible. I love that. It's almost Lovecraftian, you know, the fear of the unknown, that buildup, that dread and suspense. But you get the payoff of actually seeing it too. Number 6, the comic relief. I mean, this character is on pretty much every favorite trope video I do. I love funny characters. when they're done right, not the lazily, distractingly bad one, of course, but that's true of any character. But I find them especially effective in horror movies because of the dichotomy, that dissonance and difference between horror and humor just works very well in the hands of a skilled screenwriter and director. And you just gotta respect the person who can get a laugh when literally everyone is being murdered. Number 7, genre-savvy horror. I'm going to put horror parodies and horror comedies under this umbrella because, of course, in order to make fun of the horror genre, you have to be savvy about its tropes and subgenres. So like Shaun of the Dead, Scream, and Cabin in the Woods are all very effective horror movies that make fun of horror movies. But sometimes you just get a good horror movie that subverts all the tropes, especially the bad ones. And I love that. You got the movies where the cell phones actually work, or a character of color survives to the end, or the young hot couple stops having sex when they hear the weird noises outside. I mean, basically, it's what happens when the screenwriters and director decide, you know what if we have our characters actually act like people? Wouldn't that be cool? Number 8, social commentary. This has a much longer history within the horror genre than just Get Out, although Jordan Peele is probably my favorite creator of this type of horror, which is also very good at it if you haven't seen that yet. Now, why do I love this? I literally have a bachelor's degree in social justice, so of course I love it when people talk about social justice issues in my favorite genre. Number 9, stuck in place. That is to say, no easy escape. This is for movies that are like set in the post-apocalypse, so things like police and hospitals aren't really a thing. For a classic example, of the middle of the woods, miles away from civilization. Or you're in outer space. I mean, basically, help ain't coming to you, and you can't easily get to it. The characters are stuck facing this horror on their own, with no backup. That freaks me out. For all of my bitching about society's problems, I like living in society, and I like having that security blanket of, hey, if I scream for help really loud, someone's gonna come answer. And finally, number 10, jump scares. Because if you're watching a horror movie, but you don't like jump scares, the fuck are you doing? Those are my favorite horror movie tropes. Please share yours in the comments below and your favorite horror movies, and I will check them out. I'll see you next time. Bye, lovelies.